Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And if you like good news, you will want to listen to maybe the first 5 to 7 minutes of this episode that we will be trying to keep short, because everything after the 5 or 7 minute mark will probably not be very positive. In fact, I can guarantee you that it will not be positive, though some will be more negative than others. But let's just start with really the biggest piece of news. Okay, the biggest piece of good news for K-State in this previous week, and that's the men's track team being ranked third in the country. The women, I think, Connor and I were talking about this, so I don't want to steal what he was going to say, his point. But the point is, men are ranked third. So we've been, at first it was kind of a meme. It was a little bit of a joke when we were saying, track natty incoming. I don't think it's that much of a joke anymore. I think that we actually could, theoretically, we could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, this is a team that at least through 1 week, and that's without some of their best athletes, like Devin Loudermilk. He hasn't competed yet, and he's a former Big 12 champion in the high jump. Like this is a men's track team that I think could compete for a national title, and probably will have maybe 1 or 2 individual national champions. But we've very obviously gone from kind of middling the last few years in track to all of a sudden we are a national contender. Still that there's still a gulf that is going to be really tough to cross between being a really great track team that deserves to be in the conversation and actually winning the national championship, that we're just not used to because we haven't been up there that much. But there are still some incredible athletes on this track roster, both sides, but the men in particular right now are really loaded with talent. And I'll be going to my first ever K-State track meet this Friday. Going to go watch them, and also I think they have some kind of national circuit athletes, some former Olympians are going to come in and compete too. Travis Geffert, the work he has done in less than 2 years here at K-State is nothing short of absolutely phenomenal, and he deserves a ton of credit. I'll just quickly run through some of the top performers. I'm not going to run through every event. I think that is what bogged us down a bit last time.
The last time we did this 3 years ago.
Yeah. It is not left in my memory, unfortunately. But yeah, this has been a great start through one meet. Gary Moore Jr. He's a weight thrower. He broke the school, facility, and meet records for his weight throw, 23.14 meters, which is 75 feet 11 inches. That's 18 inches further than his school record throw last year at the Big 12 championship. And he's 4th in the country right now with that mark. So he is looking right down the barrel at a Big 12 championship and making some noise at nationals. Another huge performance from a male track athlete. It's actually a Kansas kid, and it's a guy from Mays. It's Alan Hanna, true freshman in the high jump. He won, and right now he is tied for first nationally in his high jump mark of 2.25 meters. And that's the highest a K-State high jumper has gone since TJ Shankar in 2021. And he won an individual national championship as a high jumper. And Alan Hanna doing all of that, clearing that 2.25 mark. That was a true freshman jump in his first ever collegiate meet. So he is off to an incredible start in his young career. And there may be a chance he's not even the best jumper on the roster with Devin Loudermilk transferring in from KU. And he's won multiple Big 12 championships in the high jump. A few other guys who've done well. Selva Prabhu, he's in his second season He broke the facility and meet records in the triple jump, Ta Chikomba in the long jump, then Monique Hardy on the women's side. She broke facility and meet records in the weight throw, and just a ton of really great marks here from all of these really incredible athletes that have been brought in. Remember, this is like, I think we added like 50 new player or
it was something. It was something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, and also in the high jump on the women's side, Sherry Eno, she jumped 1.88 meters. That's the second best jump nationally right now, and that's her second best jump personally. She, I think, was an All-American last year in the outdoor. There's a lot of other numbers right now that are looking good. Chikombo, he's fourth right now nationally, but those are kind of like the major kind of like numbers that I guess I want to share right now for them. I don't want to go too far into the weeds on like every single athlete because it's just not interesting to hear me just read numbers off of a article or a result sheet. But the point is that this men's track team is pretty legit. Apparently their facility is really cool too. It's in the old men's or in the old football indoor facility south of Bramlage. Apparently their banked track is really cool and state of the art, and that's how we're attracting all of these great athletes. Yes. I actually was not intentional, so thank you for catching that, because I was like, why are you saying that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would gladly take a track natty. That could be pretty awesome to see us bring that home. K-State does have some history with some great track athletes, but has never quite put it together on a team level. I think we won a Big 12 championship in the last like 5 or 10 years on the women's side in the outdoor. But it's been a few years, and the last few years we haven't been quite as good. But the arrow is definitely pointed up. Third ranked in the country. I think the men are behind just Tennessee and Georgia right now. Those are the only other two schools that are ahead of K-State. The field events are really carrying us right now. We need some breakthroughs, I think, from our sprinters and our middle distance will hopefully push us over the edge. But we're really going all in on throwers and jumpers at the moment, which high jump is a K-State tradition that even predates Travis Geffert, as we know. TJ Shankar and Eric Kennard, really the big two in that sense, with TJ winning, I think, multiple national titles, and Eric Kennard, an Olympic gold medalist. So that's the good news for K-State athletics right now. I wish that there was more.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not more. We can talk about the women. They lost both of the games this week. They got kind of waxed by KU in Lawrence, and then lost in a frustrating fashion where I don't want to say they couldn't close out, because they only led for a very short time in the fourth quarter, but just couldn't run away with the game up against Colorado, who ended up running away with it towards the very end instead. I mean, them losing the game is not the story. The big story with them is, I think it may have been less than 24 hours before the KU game, where Tess Heel, who's been one of the big pieces for K-State, and really the experienced piece outside of Taryn Sides, she was declared ineligible by the NCAA. Like I said, literally, I think less than 24 hours before the KU game, because she signed with an Australian pro team for after her college career was done. Which,
yeah,
let's pretend for a second that we don't know that there's a literal G League player who signed with a college. let's pretend for a second.
There's been several even. Like Alabama has a guy starting for them from the G League, and he played at Alabama, went pro to go to the G League, and now he's back at Alabama like 2 years later. And like we decided that's okay. And Baylor, they picked up a guy from the G League as well, and they're letting him be eligible. So yeah, I just can't reconcile the hypocrisy in allowing American professional athletes to come back to college, which like we're still like, I guess from in that angle, we're still pretending that it's amateur athletics. But then on Tess Heal's end, she signed a professional contract for after her college eligibility is expired. So it does not affect her right now at all. Like all she's doing is going pro in sports, which is what every college athlete or most of them want to do. And now she's being punished for that for reasons unknown. I guess it's like a fossil of amateurism, but those rulings are just completely inconsistent with each other because allowing the G League players, and I mean, you're especially as mid-season additions, you're effectively treating that like a transfer window and like, or free agent like waiver wire and treating it like professional sports. But then you're punishing a player for signing a professional contract for after their college eligibility is up. I cannot reconcile that at all. And I think the NCAA is just looking for a layup win because K-State hasn't really fought these too much, at the very least outside of the like official channels. I mean, there's obviously appeals and stuff you can do with the NCAA, but as we saw with Kennedy Taylor, they might just sit on it for like 6 months and tell you what the answer is like a week before the season starts and just not really do anything about it. So I'm really, really frustrated with it. I hope that Tess Heel sues the NCAA for an injunction to allow her to play if this doesn't get fixed in like the next like day, honestly. Like, because like they are like
the harm is irreparable. We're not going to go into civil procedure, but just know
irreparable harm.
You need to get a temporary injunction. By the way, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a licensed attorney. This is not any form of legal advice. But the standard for getting a temporary restraining order or an injunction is a likelihood to succeed based on the merits of the case, likelihood of irreparable harm that would occur without the injunction itself. Those are like the two. I'm blending elements so I can simplify them. Technically, you could split irreparable harm versus ability to be reconciled later. You can split those.
Let me pull up my bar prep and I will just read you what they have in there. Like we'll go through this together right now. And we're talking preliminary injunction right now or temporary restraining order?
TRO, because preliminary would be beforehand.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do a TRO here. The court will issue a TRO ex parte only if the applicant files a paper under oath clearly showing that the TRO is not issued. They will receive or they will suffer immediate and irreparable harm, as you said, if they must wait until the other side is heard. And 2, the applicant's lawyer certifies in writing her efforts to give oral or written notice to the defendant or defendant's lawyer. So you have to, and it says you have to describe specifically in detail what the defendant must do or refrain from doing, state why it was issued, state why the threatened injury to the plaintiff is irreparable. The TRO is effective for no more than 14 days or lesser time. And however, it can be extended for an additional 14 days.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll get TROs, and those can lead to more permanent injunctions, but TROs are like now. Yeah. But
you can do a preliminary injunction after a TRO, I believe.
Yeah, you can.
And then and that basically treats I mean, it'd still say TRO, but it'd be treated as a preliminary injunction if you go beyond those 28 days. And preliminary injunction, it's plaintiff likely to suffer irreparable harm, plaintiff likely to win on the merits, and balance the hardship, or the balance of hardship favors the plaintiff, and the injunction is in the public interest, which I am an extremely biased party, but I feel like Tessiel would win on all those factors. And that is not legal advice at all. That's just my opinion as a fan of sports.
Yeah. And again, so much of this, I feel like in a vacuum, I could make myself okay with. Like, I would be frustrated with it because it hurts Kansas State specifically. But whenever you have judges in Alabama that are Alabama fans giving eligibility back to a player who forgoed it to play in the G League, whenever you get a bunch of players that, other than even outside of TROs are getting eligibility for playing in the G League, you have a bunch of guys that are getting JUCO eligibility because apparently JUCO eligibility doesn't count in football anymore. Who knows? And you also get, I'm specifically thinking of Shaylee Myers, who got drafted by a volleyball team in the middle of the season this year, even at Kansas State, and she was allowed to finish out the year. So to me, there is no consistency, and I agree with what you said. They are looking for a target who they know won't punch back because I don't want to call Gene Taylor a coward. However, his lack of relative fight for even athletes that are in the wrong when it comes to eligibility. Note how I said when it comes to eligibility. We'll talk about other things at another time. But I think the NCAA is like, hey, K-State didn't fight Tyreek Smith. They didn't go through all the necessary appeals there. They just kind of waited for us to sit on our hands and give Kennedy Taylor no eligibility. Kansas State will sit there and take it on the chin, and we can say that we have a victory. That is not how it should be. You don't just pick on the kid who's not going to fight back. That makes you a coward.
Yeah, I am frustrated, and like it does suck because I mean like on paper, you look at like especially Tyreek Smith, but even Kennedy Taylor, it's like on paper, it's like yeah, that like I get why the initial rulings were against their eligibility. But you look around at schools across the country that are willing to fight that stuff, and it does feel like a lot of those schools end up on top and are able to secure additional eligibility for their athletes, maybe when they shouldn't have. This kind of yeah, I think you're right to a certain degree. It does feel like maybe K-State has a reputation of like, we're just going to take what the NCAA says at face value. And I think we're kind of operating on this sense that the rules-based order of college athletics still exists as it did pre-NIL. And I think we really want it to, because I think it's probably good for us. But the reality is that's not the reality. Like, it's totally different now. I mean, and this isn't how it should be, like, for what it's worth. But college athletics decisions can, for the most part, be like overturned in favor of a school if you just go to court right now, especially when it comes to athlete eligibility or athlete compensation or things like that. Although compensation is not as big of a deal anymore with NIL. So I don't know. I'm sure that we're doing some stuff and going through the proper channels right now for Tessiel. My biggest concern, though, is that playing by the rules right now is hurting K-State women's basketball as a program and Tess Heel as an individual athlete. Like I get why we want to go through these channels and do it like quote unquote the right way, but there is really no tangible benefit for us doing that right now. Like I think we would be better served like taking this to federal court and like getting Tess Heel reinstated like ASAP, because she has now missed 2 games. I don't know, based on the result, that it would have changed the KU game. I think there's a pretty good argument that this would have changed the result of the Colorado game, though, having Tess Heel available, who has been our best player in Big 12 play. So, I don't know. I'm sure that they are like fighting this. I'm sure they're working on it. But from the outside looking in without additional information, it really feels like we're not sticking up for our athletes the way that we should. And that is what really bugs me about this, is it, for better or for worse, sends a message to athletes across the country that are thinking about K-State. Like, hey, if, there's ever an issue like that comes to like the NCAA ruling you out and it's like kind of borderline, we're just going to kind of let the NCAA do whatever they want. And like, we'll appeal it through the proper channels and whatnot. But like, you see all those other schools that are like going and sticking up for their athletes and like supporting their lawsuits against the NCAA and like standing behind their athletes publicly. Like, we're not really going to do that though, because the NCAA is like the law, as if it's like 1980. Like,
yeah, and
the NCAA has no power. It's a powerless institution, especially at the higher level of collegiate athletics. Maybe if we were in like Division III, and I'd respect what the NCAA has to say, but at this point, they're a little more than a like organizing committee for tournaments. Like, and they set some like in-game rules, but in terms of like actually limiting what colleges can and can't do, like they have no real power, and they haven't for a while. Like, so I think we just start operating that way, because we're hurting our athletes and our programs if we don't do that.
Yeah, and I think another factor is that litigation takes a long time. In fact, litigation will often last more than the duration of a college player's career. So the moment you start litigation, you get that injunction or a TRO, you can drop
yeah.
But don't do this. Do not do this. I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice, because you will get a civil procedure motion filed against you for frivolous claims. But there comes a point where after the career is done, maybe you dismiss it. But don't do that. That's a frivolous claim, and that's bad.
And the thing with Tess Heel, like we're talking about
frivolous.
Yeah. She's got like at the absolute most like 2.5 months left in her college career. Like, you want to talk about irreparable damage, like proportionally, like relative to what she has left available to her, every game she misses is like a larger chunk that she is not getting back from what's left of her collegiate career. Like, and like courts have in the past considered collegiate athletics to be an important American institution. Like, it's a uniquely American institution as well in how we administer it. Like, and like, she's an international player that chose to come here for one reason or another. Like, but we have like a great athletic system, like for collegiate athletics. So let's act like it and let Tess Heel play. Free her until it's backwards.
Yeah.
Her free.
Her free. Anyway. Yeah, women lost both games. The men lost both games. The men lost ugly both times, but it's a different type of ugly, because against KU, they got blown out on their home court and then had a KU player wabash at midcourt. Now, Do I take exception to that as a KU fan? Or as a K-State fan? God, I almost put the worst curse on myself. Ugh.
That's a
Ugh.
double curse for you personally.
Ugh. But as a K-State fan, do I take exception to it? I mean, I thought it was funny when Austin Moore waved the wheat in the KU's in their face on the sideline. I can be upset about it, but I mean, game recognized game. It was at least a little funny. I am upset that no one got a chair. That is a joke.
I'm not joking.
I'm not joking.
Someone should have had some pride and done something about it and gotten like a 10-game suspension. Antonio Gordon had more pride than this group of players, like, which is crazy to say. James Love, James Love in khakis and a polo had more pride than the players on the court for K-State in that game on Saturday. Like, it is some crazy stuff to think about. Like,
God, that's gross.
Like they didn't let that slide on their home floor, and they were up by 20 on us when the chair incident happened. Like, they were up by 20 again on us in Bramlage, and we had zero passion. We did not care. Like, I get, like, that's not everybody's instinct, but I'd like us to have at least one person that gets emotional about that sort of thing. Like, I'm not like gonna come on here and glorify like fighting and violence and stuff, but just because I'm not glorifying it doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to see a little bit.
Yeah. And then they managed to lose ugly in like a Bruce Weber game, like a late stage Bruce Weber game up against West Virginia.
It really was a classic Bruce game. Like somebody on Twitter said that, like I think it might have been K-State man. He was like, it was one of those Bruce type games where if the other team scores on like 2 consecutive possessions, the game's over. And like,
that's true.
That was such an accurate description. Props to K-State man for that take on it. Like, that encapsulated the whole Bruce era for me right there. Like, oh, they scored twice, man.
Goodbye. Yeah, yeah.
But those aren't really the stories.
Nope.
At least the most pressing ones at the moment. Every day there's something. There's some new and creative way that this men's basketball team finds to dig the hole deeper.
Yeah. I want to preface this by saying what we are going to say is like, we're not going to elaborate on rumors that are out in the K-State sphere. And trust me, as someone who has been out of the loop on numerous rumors, I understand how frustrating it is to hear someone say, oh, I'm not going to share that. I understand how frustrating it is. You have to understand why we're doing it. Firstly, it's not something that we necessarily want to touch on this show because we like keeping this a ha-ha funny show. We get mad about sports sometimes. And then whenever something real happens, like real life consequences, we're just like, I really would rather not talk about that because I just don't think that this is the forum with which to do so. But there are rumors about a certain K-State player. We can name who it is because that much is public. There have been rumors about Moby Akagaruka and why he hasn't been with the team lately. Coach Tang released a statement saying that he was dealing with a personal matter and he is welcome back, or he is not personally ready to return to the team, but the team will support him. What I will say is,
I don't support him.
I'm
not on the team. He's not speaking for over here. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
You're good. If the rumors are even, if there is like a 20% shred of truth to the rumors, that is a disgusting statement to make. Like that's like Art Briles level of disgusting.
Yeah. It's embarrassing as well. Like this is a man who like I do think is like genuinely like a very like like religious person and like believes in like like being able to like people getting second chances and like to an extent I agree with that as well, but like holy cow, man, like the wording of the statement is just absolutely absurd, and some of it's just really dismissive, I think. And this is now the second time that we've had some similar situations just be completely bungled. The first time we were kind of wool over the eyes on it, I think. This time, like as things leak out, I don't think that's going to be the case. But yeah, like as I said, if it is true, if that is the case, then like I'm pretty fully out on Jerome Tang. Like even on like a very basic level, like a respectability level, like it was at the point where if he is still the coach, then I'm not buying a ticket again. Like that's just not happening anymore. Like because if you're not going to be a good basketball team on the court, at least be a good basketball team off the court.
Be good people. Like, be a doofus and mention Pete the cat. That's fine. That's fine.
And if bad things happen, deal with them immediately. Don't wait until it becomes public and then do it, because it looks really disingenuous when you do that. So I'm just dancing around it here, I know. And I'm like, as I said, this isn't really the time to do it. Like, we're not going to break news here. We're not going to leak rumors, especially unsubstantiated ones that we can't verify ourselves. Like, but it's just another thing in what's already been a horrible season, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And like at this point, spilling over from sports into like much more important real life stuff, and that's just completely unacceptable. Like Jerome Tang has like lost control of the ship. It feels like at this point, like this is a rudderless basketball program. It feels like that is just kind of flowing day to day or wherever the tide takes us. And for the amount of money that has been invested in this roster and in this team, that is not acceptable or sustainable.
No. And is there a chance that every part of the rumor will suffice it to say that Moby Okegaruka, as the rumor goes, is not a very nice person, and we will leave it at that. Is there a world where it's a completely unsubstantiated rumor and there's no truth to it whatsoever? Yeah, that is a possibility. However, there are things that would lead one to believe that is not the case. Yeah. Such as delay in statements.
Yeah, and of course this is all alleged as well, like, but it's weird to think back about Coach Tang talking about Rapiak and Moby and Kamari and such being out, and like the first statement about both of them is that it's HIPAA related, but like this statement about Moby very explicitly says it's not a health related issue. So like, why is he just straight up lying to the press pool? Like that's kind of, unless he was specifically talking about Elias, which I can't remember the particulars on that. So I'll hold off on going on a mega rant before I like have all the facts on that. But like that is a like potential point of interest, I guess, is like prior press conference statements about that. And also his press conference statements after West Virginia about like not knowing the rules and not having like not being able to construct a roster because of that.
No. No, he doesn't get that excuse. He does not get that excuse. He built this roster. You lost out on Tyreek Smith. Tyreek Smith was going to be a role player. You got multiple professionals from across the pond. You got the number one portal ad in the entire country. You do not get the excuse that I didn't know the rules. Like, it's not my fault this roster sucks.
Yeah, like, and Tyreek, like, I do think he, like, maybe, like, could be a big help for us having, like, a guy I think that would have been about equal, maybe slightly better than Kamari McGriff. Like, that'd be great for some additional post depth. But, like, there was never a good chance that he was going to get additional eligibility. Like, because he'd played in, like, 5 or 6 seasons already. Like, that wasn't going to happen, I don't think, unless they were just feeling generous, which they weren't.
Not that time.
Like, and then I don't even know who else he would have even been talking about with the other two. Like, that I'm sure, I guess there's probably people that, like, aren't as immediately obvious, but if that's the case, that begs the question, if they're less obvious, like, eligibility qualifiers than Tyreek Smith, and why is he mad about that then? I don't get it. And this is a guy that's been able to, like, divine red shirts for at least one guy every year who's actually played in real basketball games, when college basketball does not have a, like, extended red shirt rule. Like, Dorian Vinnister played in, like, 3, 4, 5 games or something like that as a true freshman, and he still got a red shirt for it. Like, I do not know how he did that. Props to Coach Tang for figuring out how to do that. But I think he knows the rules, is basically what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I
don't know. I think he's talking like a coach that knows that he has run out of rope in terms of excuses and belief, and is now looking for any target that he can to kind of shelve off the blame. And I get that's pretty common for coaches. And I think Bruce did that a bit, especially in his last press conference, but it really never felt as pointed as this. Maybe it did. I can't really remember, because it's been like 4 years, like, since then, 4 or 5 years. But yeah, the press conferences and answers from Coach Tang recently have really been feeling like a man that knows that this is the end of the road.
Yeah, and I think I'll leave it off with this, or at least I'll give you room for your final thoughts as well. But my final thoughts were, during the Bruce Weber years, like the final years of Bruce Weber, and I know that people are probably completely tired of hearing, back in the Bruce Weber days. And they will always be judged back-to-back because they will be back-to-back coaches. That's just the nature of the thing. And I'm not trying to play revisionist history. It was time for Bruce to retire / get fired. It was time. I am not denying that. And I'm, like I said, my intention is not to be revisionist historian and say that every part of the Bruce era was sunshine and rainbows. But there was no part of the Bruce Weber era that made me ashamed of the basketball team's existence. They could be bad, and I would be like, yeah, they're just not very good. There's a distinct difference between a team being bad and a team being, like, problematic. And I hate using that word because I think that word has been co-opted politically, and everyone has this emotionally charged reaction to it. There is no better word. I would rather root for a team of lovable losers than a team that A, can't play together, and B, apparently has a bunch of off-the-court issues. And I just can't deal with it anymore.
I mean, it's lovable losers versus hateable losers, and I know who I would pick in that scenario too. Like, I'm picking the Pete the Cat enjoyers over the redacted doers. Like, this is like it like, not, I'm not trying to make light of it or anything, but it's like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, Scott Wildcat, like on Bosco's voice, he had I think he probably put this better than we are. He had a really good episode today that I haven't finished yet, but it can always get worse is what it's titled. And he released that the day that we're recording, which is Thursday, January 29th, which was also the same afternoon and evening that all this stuff has come out on the men's team and Moby. So very timely episode, Scott. Good work by you.
And this episode's going to be called "It's Getting Worse." So.
Yeah, this is a tandem episode in spirit, unplanned, but yeah, it's a spiritual successor, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think I've ever wanted a season of K-State athletics for any sport to be done more than this men's basketball season.
Baseball is right around the corner, guys.
It is. We got to do that preview coming up here pretty soon too, because they start like
2 weeks.
Yeah, I think we're like 2 weeks away. So hopefully a big year for the Backcats. A lot of returners, a lot of fun new faces as well. We'll see here.
God knows we need it.
Yeah, if nothing else, I think that Pete Hughes is gonna have all their heads screwed on straight. So fingers crossed. Knock on wood.
I think Pete would just beat anyone who tried to disobey him.
Boston discipline, man.
Anyway, on that downer of a note, do you have any final beats? I don't either. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I'm at ACEdward00.
I'm at Connor Baltasar, capital C, capital D.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store. Link found in our podcast and Twitter bio. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. For come rain, shine, or anything between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.